Hello, welcome to Lunch Break with the Pastor. This is Associate Pastor Tony Gandula joining you for our pre-recorded lunch break today for September the 30th, the last day of September. Just when it starts to get nice outside, huh? And our flagship verse has been, the theme has been declaring war on the enemy's war. Flagship verse has been 1 Samuel 17:47. And all this assembly shall know, this is King David speaking to the Goliath of the Philistines, that the Lord saves not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. He can give you into our hands because we've given this to him. Giving something to God is making a consecration and laying down your own way of doing things and asking him for his way of doing things and selling out to him. We see in not being an actor, we talked about that yesterday. We see in Hebrews 3:10 through 11, where Jesus dealt with those who are actors. They play the men. They play like they're warriors. We're not to act, we're to be. And I want to read Hebrews 3:10 through 11. Those who were disobedient and did not to get into the promised land were those who were men of war, who would not obey. Actually, they were obeying their fear. They were obeying another voice. They were not obeying God. They were disobeying him to obey those things. There's nothing wrong with being afraid, but when it changes your obedience, it changes your will, it's wrong. Hebrews 3:10 through 11. Wherefore, I was grieved with that generation. They would not obey. Once again, they were obeying their fear. I was grieved with that generation. Who were they? They were the men of war. Specifically those who would not take the initiative in battle. I was grieved with that generation in Hebrews 10 and said, they do err in their hearts. The problem wasn't whether they were strong enough or whether they thought they were strong enough. The error was a matter of unbelief. It was disobedience that was inside of them. He said, they err in their hearts and have not known my ways. It's on the inside. It's not in the doing, it's in the being. They don't know my ways. They're not bothering to know what I'm like. So I swore in my anger, they will not enter into my rest. Let me jump to Hebrews 3:19. So we see they could not enter in. What way, God? What way are you talking about? They could not enter in because of this way. Unbelief. A disobedience to his belief. God believed they could enter into the promised land. God believed they could be victorious in him. In him, we live and move and have our ability to be what God has called us to be. That's God's belief. Now, we have our own choice of what we're going to believe or not believe. But God says that's why they couldn't enter in, because of unbelief. Now, one more set of verses here. Hebrews, still in Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 9 through 11. In verse 11, Hebrews, I read before Hebrews 3, verse 11, where it says, in my wrath I swore they will not enter into my rest. Hebrews 4, verse 9 through 11. There remains therefore a rest to the people of God. This is for us. God would not tell us, just like he said the promised land was for them, he would not tell us this is something we can't have. He says we can have this. There remains, therefore, a rest to the people of God Verse 10, he that has entered into his rest, God's own rest, has ceased from his own works, as God did from his. And it's pointing back to the day of rest at the Sabbath, where God ceased from his own works. And basically, a little backstory, God set everything in motion. Everything was working so God could rest. In other words, God took the initiative, set up everything in the world and the universe, and it was all flowing and he could rest. We need to take the initiative in battle, take the battle. Don't let the battle initiative come and take us, like Japan declared war on America, but America needed to take the initiative and did, and declared war on the enemy's war. We need to set the battle by taking the initiative. He that has entered to his rest has ceased from his own works as God did from his. Let us labor. Why is Paul telling us to labor? Because we're to stop our own works, our own unbelief, our own ideas of how this is going to go, and go to his belief. Let any man, he that has entered to his rest has ceased from his own works. If that owning is unbelief, if that owning is, I'm not going to be able to do it, if that owning is, we're going to die, we're owning the wrong thing. Cease from his own works as God did from his. After God set everything in motion, we need to labor, consecrate this to God, set the battle in array, gather the people and pray, whatever it takes, and take back the initiative, declaring war on the enemy's war. Let us labor. Labor, therefore, to enter into that rest where the battle becomes God's, where he can own it because we've now consecrated it and dedicated it to him. Like the man who gave me certain equipment, he was making a change in his life. He was actually consecrating that area of his life to God. He was ceasing from his own ways, his own works of how he would always do that one thing, and he was consecrating it to the work of God. Laboring to enter into his rest. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. What is unbelief? Disobedience. What is unbelief? I'm not believing God. I'm going to believe everybody else, my own fear. Oh no, the battle has come against me and I'm too lacking to stand against this battle, and not setting the array. First things we can do, what we did at my father's house, which blessed me, when we started praying and believing God in this battle, was when I saw the women arise. There was mostly women. One man arose, and it was a dramatic time. We were interceding for our pastor, and I just saw all these people form a line in the front of the church and join hands. And I was like, oh my God, they set the battle in array. They just said, we're taking initiative in this battle. We're now going to fight. We're now going to dedicate this battle that it belongs to the Lord's. It's his battle. He's owning it. And we're setting the battle in array. We're saying this is how we're going to fight. Not we're just going to be attacked. Like America declared war on the enemy's war. There remains therefore a rest to the people of God. Let us labor to enter into that rest, ceasing from our own ways, gaining his initiative. When it's his, it belongs to him, and the battle becomes the Lord's. All right, one last installment tomorrow on Happy Friday. God bless you, and a kiss to the King.